لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع المذنبين حبيب إله العالمين خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى آله المعصومين المنتجبين المطهرين. قال الله الحكيم في كتاب الكريم وهو أصدق الصادقين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. أما بعد, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As a gesture of condolence to the Imam of our time, let us begin with the loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
One of the titles of Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha is the title of Mubarakah. Inshallah, tonight I want to spend some time talking about this title. What does it mean to be Mubarakah? How is it that she is Mubarakah? And what is this concept of Mubarak and Barakah in Islam? And why is it that we see it as something that is important? We know that her name is Fatima, and something like Mubarakah is one of her titles, one of her sifat. These titles are given to her because of the qualities, the characteristics that she displayed. Some of these titles are given to her by Rasulullah, and some of the titles are given to her by the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. So we have titles like Zahra, like Tahira. Each of these has a lot of significance. There's a book that was recently published in Qom, or rather volumes of books that were published in Qom. It's 10 volumes, and each one of these volumes is dedicated to one of the sifat of Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha. So each volume is about 250, 300 pages, and it will talk about the sifat of Mumtahana, for example, from the hadith and from the Quran. This is and 10 volumes are written just about the sifat of Fatima sallallahu alayha. We have Tayyiba, we have Sabira. Sabira is one of the titles that Imam Jawad alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, he gives her this title and refers to her by this title in the ziyarat that we recite. Inshallah, we can recite it tonight from Imam Jawad alayhi salam. So all of these titles, if we were to go one by one, we would see that there is this interesting story for how it was designated, either from the Imams of Ahlul Bayt or from the Messenger of Allah. In the Quran, there's a verse about barakah, this term that we want to talk about tonight. It says, وَقُلْ رَبَّ أَنزِلْنِي مُنزَلًا مُبَارَكًا وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْمُنزِلِينَ. This verse was revealed to Nuh alayhi salam initially. When Nuh wanted to land this ship of his that he had gone off on for so long after the story of the flood, and now he is going to land it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, وَقُلْ, he says, say this dua, make this prayer. What is the prayer? Oh Allah, wherever I land, make that location a place that is Mubarak. The place that I am going to settle in, make that place a place that has barakah for me. And so the ulama, they recommend that if you buy a new house, if you are moving somewhere and you settle down in a new place, begin with saying this ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Nuh alayhi salam to recite. In general, we have a lot of different verses that are intended for different activities, different locations, different things that we do. Ayatollah Shahudi, not the very famous Shahudi, a different Ayatollah Shahudi, he says that, or somebody rather, saw him on an airplane, and when he was on the airplane, with his finger he was gesturing, writing something. And the person next to him, they said, Hajjah, I noticed that when you were taking off in the airplane, you were writing something with your finger, just kind of on the back of the seat. And he said, what is it that you were writing? He said, I was writing, La takhaf. This is the verse in the Quran that was given to Musa alayhi salam. He says, La takhaf darakan wa la takhsha. Do not be afraid, O Musa, of drowning. This darakan, which means death, was referring to drowning. When Musa alayhi salam is fleeing from the Pharaoh, and there is the sea before him, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, go forth. And Musa alayhi salam tells the people, let's go forth. And they say, how are we going to go forth? There's this water in front of us. They haven't seen it split yet. There's this water in front of us, and the Pharaoh is behind us. And Musa alayhi salam says, Inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdeen. That my Lord is with me. He's going to show us the way. Don't have any doubt. If Allah tells us to go toward the water, Allah knows something that we don't know. And of course they go toward the water, and the water opens. It splits open for them, and they go. And Allah says, do not fear that you should drown or something that will happen to you. This is just a side note that this Ayatollah, he was writing. He had heard it from a greater scholar, I believe it was Nokhodaki, that had originally told him this, to do this whenever you travel, whenever you're in fear, whenever you are in a place where you're not comfortable, then write this ayah that Allah used to comfort Musa alayhi salam. And so when we come to this ayah about something becoming Mubarak, we see that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when he is speaking to Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, he says to Ali that when you settle down in this new location, then recite this ayah, رَبَّ أَنزِلْنِي مُنْزَلًا مُبَارَكًا وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْمُنْزِلِينَ. Allama Tabatabai says that this, in reference to this ayah, he says that the term barakah refers to something that is small but has an immense impact. Something that you might not think is anything significant, but after a while, when you look at the impact that it had, you see that it was extremely significant. And this is one of the reasons why Fatima sallallahu alayha, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad, is given the title of Mubarak. Because of the impact that she had. She's only one person. She becomes Shahida in a relatively young age. How is it that somebody like this can be, to have so much barakah? The ulama, they refer to several categories of her barakah that we'll talk about in a moment, including, of course, the imams of Ahlul Bayt that come from her, the knowledge that comes from her, all of these things that come from Fatima sallallahu alayha, that we are benefiting from today. There's so much that can be discussed about the barakah of Fatima sallallahu alayha in the world today, especially for the Shia, but even for people who are Ahl Sunnah, and even people who are not Muslim. That this barakah is so immense that it spreads and it crosses all of these different these boundaries. The ulama, roughly speaking, they categorize barakah into 4 different types of barakah. That there are 4 different things that can have barakah for us. The first item that has barakah is location. So there's certain locations that have a lot of barakah, that are very blessed for us. وَضَعَ لِلَّهِ لَلَّذِي بِبَكَّةً مُبَارَكًا. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Mecca, He refers to Mecca as a location that has barakah. When we look at the narrations, we see that it says 2 rak'at of salat in Masjid al-Haram is equal to 100,000 rak'ah of salat anywhere else. This is barakah, meaning they did something small. They just did 2 rak'at of salat, standing beside the Kaaba, and Allah is going to multiply that so that it is equal to 100,000 rak'ah of salat. In the narrations we have of other locations, the location of the Haram of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala, it says that if you recite your dua under the dome of the Haram of Hussein alayhi salam, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guarantees that dua. That dua is going to be accepted. Inshallah, God give us the tawfiq to go to the ziyarat of Imam Hussein regularly, especially on Arba'een. And you go there, make it so that you can get inside, even for a moment, beside the Zari of Hussein alayhi salam, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has said that that dua in that location, because of the barakah that that location has, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant that dua. And of course, to a lesser degree, various locations, the masajid have barakah. The Husayniyah has barakah. This location that we are in tonight, the Majlis of Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha, this has immense barakah. Don't allow yourselves, your families, to be cut off from these kinds of majalis. Allah knows that our souls require this constant renewal. And that renewal, sometimes it happens just by coming here, sitting here, and then going back home. And this will bring life. It will bring that hayat that we need for our spiritual well-being and survival. So these locations have barakah. Salat in these locations is worth more. Dua in these locations is more likely to be accepted. The second item that the ulama speak of when they talk about barakah is the times that are mubarak. So for example, we have so much about Laylatul Qadr, that this night is better than what would be equal to 80 years of your lifetime. So seize those moments. The way that we treat Laylatul Qadr, sometimes, we say, oh, Laylatul Qadr is going to fall on a Wednesday, let me try to get, Thursday off so that, I can perceive Laylatul Qadr. Alhamdulillah, this is the minimum that we can do. Ulama say that if Laylatul Qadr is truly better than 1,000 months, khayrun min alf shahr, if it has that much barakah, then you should plan for Laylatul Qadr a year in advance. So when Laylatul Qadr is over, and you really consider the fact that this is better than 1,000 months, better than a lifetime, then you would plan for it a year in advance. You would think about that Laylatul Qadr, that 23rd of Ramadan, or the other nights of possibility of Laylatul Qadr, and see what you got out of it. And then plan immediately after it's over, how am I going to make the next Laylatul Qadr, if I am alive, how am I going to make that better? Because it truly is of that magnitude. And of course, tonight we are commemorating the Shahadat of Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha. One of the tafasir of Laylatul Qadr, one of the meanings of Laylatul Qadr, according to the narrations that have been given to us, is Fatima sallallahu alayha ala Muhammad wa alayhi salawat. Another category of barakah that the ulama speak of is objects, things. There's certain objects that can have immense barakah, and the Quran is filled with these objects. Most of us, when we think about ayat of the Quran and objects that have barakah, you might think of the shirt of Yusuf alayhi salam. This shirt that when his father Ya'qub received it, he weeps and he rubs it onto his face, and his sight comes back. It had that much barakah. And these are some of the verses, by the way, that the followers of Ahlul Bayt use when we are criticized for holding on to the zarih of the shrines of Ahlul Bayt. when we take a green cloth and we rub it onto the shrine and then we rub it on our faces. They say, this is shirk, and why are you doing this? We point to the ayahs of the Quran. The Quran is saying that Ya'qub took the shirt of Yusuf alayhi salam and he rubbed it to his face and he held it to his chest. Because he knew the significance of that shirt. It's just a piece of cloth. But because it was worn by the wali of Allah, by this great prophet, Yusuf alayhi salam, it has this barakah, it has a significance to it. Another story in the Quran that we could look at is the basket in the Quran. It refers to as the tabut that Musa alayhi salam was placed in when he was a small child. You all remember the story when the Pharaoh alayhim al-la'na decided to kill all of the young boys that were being born out of fear of losing power. Just on a side note, I think with what's going on today, we can mention this. The fact that Pharaoh killed so many people, the blood of those shuhada is what led to the qiyam of Musa alayhi salam. So the fact that Musa alayhi salam did what he did, and he had all of these followers come after him, all of this that happened, that unfolded, they say it was because of the barakah, all of the blood of the shuhada that was spilled a generation earlier by Pharaoh. Don't think that things are any different today. If we have 10,000, 20,000 people becoming shaheed, then you can expect some kind of a opening after that. You can expect Allah's plan to unravel in very vivid ways after all of this blood has been spilled and after all of these martyrs have come onto the scene. Because these shuhada, they are alive and they are going to be effective in the world. And what comes after that is always going to be significant. We hope that it will be the faraj of our Mawla Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, inshaAllah. This basket that Musa alayhi salam was placed in, when Asya salamullah alayha received the basket, she said, I want to keep this. Of course, she convinced the Pharaoh to adopt Musa effectively. But she said, I want to also keep that basket. That basket, Asya salamullah alayha saw it as having barakah. So she kept it the entire time. When Musa alayhi salam was older, Asya gives this basket to Musa alayhi salam. When Musa takes it, it says that he keeps it with him for all of the different journeys that he is going on. And when he would receive revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this revelation would be written down on the backs of animal hide, and they would put it into scrolls, Musa alayhi salam would keep it inside of that basket. Right? Because it had barakah. And the Quran describes, the story of Talut and Jalut and the war that broke out. And it says that the Bani Israel, after Musa alayhi salam, they had lost this basket. But their ulama, they said that this has barakah. If we could find this basket, we know that it has a lot of barakah. And so, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designates Dawood, and some Mufassirin say this is the Dawood that is the prophet that we know. Some say it's a different Dawood. But the Quran says there's some characteristics of this Dawood, that he had knowledge and he was more able-bodied. In terms of physical strength, he was more able-bodied than other people. And in terms of knowledge, it says that he knows where this Dawood is. This basket that has barakah, it was that important to these people. That when they're opposing Dawood's leadership, the way that they're going to accept it is when he presents them with this basket that Musa alayhi salam, when he was a small child, he was placed in the basket, sent down the river, and Asya collected it, and then all of the stories that followed. Because that basket had barakah. This is a story in the Quran. So again, when Ahl Sunnah, they tell us, why do you touch the shrine? Why do you touch the zari? Why do you have these objects that you keep with you and you consider them sacred, or you say they have barakah? You point to all these stories in the Quran. That the Quran is saying that these objects have barakah. Now where is Musa and where are the Ahlul Bayt? When we go to the shrines of Zarif Ahlul Bayt, truly it is befitting of us throwing ourselves toward the shrines of Ahlul Bayt. Take cloth, fabric, tasbih, turba, and rub it on the shrines of Ahlul Bayt and keep it with you. And use it when you are in difficult times. And rub it onto the eyes of your children when they are sick. This has barakah, and we have a lot of Qur'ani references for that. One of the objects, just to say this quickly and then we'll move on, is the mawarith al-anbiya. We know that according to the hadith, they say that Imam Mahdi ajalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif,
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad,
that he has with him certain objects that he receives from the Imam of Ahlul Bayt before him, and even objects from the prophets before. These things have been retained. The ring of Sulaiman, for example. The turban of Rasulullah, for example. The sword of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. These are with our Imam. And we see some other indications, for example, in the event of Karbala, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he refers to the turban that he is wearing. He says, this is the turban, this is the imama of Rasulullah that I am wearing on my head. So these objects have this kind of significance. So that's the third category of barakah. The fourth category of barakah, what is mubarak, and perhaps the most important category, is the individuals, the people who have barakah, the people who are in it of themselves mubarak. In the Quran, Isa alayhi salam, when he is born, you know the controversy around that surrounded his birth, and Maryam sallallahu alayha points to him and says, ask him, to the Yahud, when they were accusing Maryam of different things, she says, ask this child. They say, how can we ask this child? And he begins to speak. In that initial speech that Isa alayhi salam has, he says, Inni Abdullah وَجَعَلْنِي نَبِيًّا, that I am the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. God has made me one of the messengers. وَجَعَلْنِي مُبَارَكًا, and I am Mubarak. God has made it so that I have barakah. Another name of Isa alayhi salam in the Quran that's interesting for us is Wajih. He and another prophet, only two people are referred to as Wajih in the Quran. And this is the same phrase that we use when we recite Dua Tawassul, Ya Wajihan Indallah. That these are the faces of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the people who have face rather with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That they have dignity, that they have station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ala Muhammad wa alayhi salam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
There's a narration from the Messenger of Allah regarding barakah and what can remove barakah from your home. We'll mention this narration and inshallah then we will speak about the barakah of Fatima al-Zahra sallallahu alayhi. It says that if 4 things enter into your home, then the barakah will be removed from your home. So these are 4 things that we ought to pay special attention to. Number 1 is khiyana. Khiyana is to violate a trust. To do something behind somebody's back that you're not supposed to do. If you've taken an oath and you violate that oath, this is khiyana. So if this happens inside of a household, then barakah is removed from that house. Remember, barakah is that currency that's important. Because it can appear small, but it is significant. The opposite can be true, where you think something, there's a lot of something. Somebody might live in a very large house, a mansion, or whatever they have in the material sense, but in fact, none of that is benefiting them. So it is little in reality. So barakah is the item that we should be chasing. We often mistake material wealth for that thing that actually has value. right? But that material wealth can translate perhaps to value. It can translate to that barakah, but not everything that is materially large is actually significant or beneficial for the people. So if we want to make sure that this is something we have in our life, this is a narration for that. So khiyana is one of those things that can remove barakah from your life. There's a story about the Satuna Tawbah in Martyrdom Nabi. It says that the individual who did the Tawbah, the reason he had to do Tawbah was because of khiyana. He was talking to the Yahud, and Rasulullah had sent him, and Rasulullah said, when you speak to them, do not reveal my secrets. There's certain items that I don't want you to talk to them about. And he goes there and he does exactly that. He reveals the secrets. And so this was the sin of khiyana. And so when he comes back to Medina, and he is chastised, and then he weeps, and he ties himself to that pillar, which is known as the pillar of Tawbah, or the pillar of Abu Lubaba, after this individual's name. And then Rasulullah sallallahu has accepted it from you. Khiyana is extremely severe in Islam, and it removes barakah. The second item refers to the wealth that comes into your home. So it talks about it with a broad category of as-sarqa. So if you bring wealth into your house that is not achieved in a halal way, if you've had to lie, if you've had to cheat, if you've had to sell things that are haram, if you had to do things that are haram, in order to make your money, again, don't look at how much money you're making. Look at the quality of that money. Is that wealth halal? Then that sustenance will have barakah. If it is not halal, then it will remove barakah from your home. And you wonder why, the house is so cold, and the relationships are so cold, and the children are not responsive to the sha'a'ir of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt. What is going on in our home? And you think that you're doing everything that you know how to do, but there's a problem with the sustenance that is entering into that house. If that kind of sustenance enters into that house, if that kind of money is translated to the food that is being given to the individual in that household, then barakah is removed from that house. I want us to look at the correlations between the activities and barakah, and then we get to the Ahlul Bayt, and we can see why they have so much barakah, right? Because they are the opposite of the examples given in this hadith. The third item that is mentioned that will remove barakah from the home is khamr. Khamr referring to the intoxicants, or perhaps more specifically talking about alcohol. Khamr is so dangerous, and alhamdulillah we don't suffer from this in our communities. It is so dangerous that the ulama say that even if a tree is planted with the intention that the grapes, for example, from this tree are going to be used to produce alcohol, then that tree has a nuhusat about it. That tree can remove barakah. Allahu Akbar. Somebody intended to use this tree to produce wine. Maybe that intention never came to fruition, but that was their intention for that tree. That's why they planted it, that's why they watered it. They say that can remove barakah. This is the significance of khamr that is brought into this narration. And finally, fahsha. The fourth item that will remove barakah from your home is fahsha, that we can translate to licentiousness. We have to be very, very careful about fahsha entering into our homes, or fahsha happening outside of the home by members of that household, or fahsha happening inside of the home. One of the biggest dangers that our communities and our young people are facing in this day and age is fahsha on the TV, fahsha on the phones. All sorts of licentiousness are immediately accessible nowadays. People go onto these apps that are regular apps that everybody uses, Instagram and TikTok and all of these things, and fahsha is just a click away. This licentiousness is just a click away. One person in the household is going in that direction. They go on to Netflix or Amazon Prime or any of these streaming services, and the fahsha just easily enters into your home. This is not just a mundane activity. This is removing barakah. This is scaring away the malaika, the angels that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down into that house. They do not enter that house. Because fahsha has entered, because individuals in that house are engaged in fahsha, that will remove barakah. Ala Muhammad wa alayhi salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil.
Now when we turn to the Ahlul Bayt, and we see that not only they are the source of barakah, but just like Isa alayhi salam in the Quran, he said, وَجَعَلْنِي مُبَارَكًا, that Allah has made me Mubarak. And we refer to Fatima al-Zahra as Mubarakah. She is the barakah. She is the source of that barakah. She is the fountain of barakah. And immediately we see this in the form of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, the 11 Imams from her zuriyah, from her offspring, and everything that comes from those Imams of Ahlul Bayt. She is the source of that barakah. With one of the ulama, he was looking at the books of the Yahud. So they have the Torah, they have the Talmud. And he was looking in these books and he says that in their books they refer to a union. So there's a significant marriage that will happen in the future. So this marriage is prophesied in the books of the Yahud. And it says from this union there will be 11 princes that will come about. This is in the books of the Yahud. I heard, and this is really interesting, this scholar was saying that the star in the Zionist flag, unbeknownst to them of course, they say that the symbol, the triangle upward and the triangle downward, one triangle is for the male and one is for the female of that union that is prophesied in their books. That this union is supposed to bring about all of this barakah. And then we see that these people are taking that symbol and all of what they are doing. This 11 Imams who were prophesied before in the books of old is that source of barakah. Imam Mahdi ajalallah ta'ala farajul sharif.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil.
He says that my mother Fatima is Uswatun Hasan. This title that we often hear referred to as to the Prophet, that he is the best of examples. He's saying that she is my role model. So look at who Fatima is. In other narrations, I believe it's from Imam Salih alayhi salam, he says that we are the hujjah of Allah unto you. We're the proof of Allah unto you, the evidence of God unto you, and Fatima is the hujjah for us, the Ahlul Bayt. For us, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Look at the status, the station of Fatima. The second item that ulama refer to, that this fountain of barakah that comes from Fatima sallallahu alayha, is the sada. All of the sadat in the world today, people who have kept track for all of these generations that they have descended from the line of Rasulullah. Sometimes people ask, is it, do we have to have a distinction between the Sayyid and the non-Sayyid? And the answer is, of course we have to have a distinction between the Sayyid and the non-Sayyid. Out of respect for Fatima sallallahu alayha, we have respect for the Sadat. We have the respect for these people who have kept track of this lineage. And there's so many studies now that are underway about all the different communities of Sayyids around the world. And you see, mashallah, this immense barakah, all of these people and the activities that so many of them are engaged in. The percentage of ulama that are from the line of Fatima sallallahu alayha, not to mention those who have not kept track because it comes from the mother's line, for example. They're also the descendants of Fatima sallallahu alayhi wa. Even Ahl Sunnah have ulama, some of the greatest ulama, like Alusi, is a Sayyid. We have so many of the ulama in Egypt who are Ahl Sunnah scholars, but they are the Sadat, and they are tracing this lineage. This is an immense source of barakah. The third source of barakah, the third item we can refer to from Fatima sallallahu alayha is the knowledge of Fatima sallallahu alayha. This is something that's not often spoken about. But we've all heard of a book called the Mus'haf of Fatima. This is a book that is from Fatima sallallahu alayha. And when you look at what this book is, which is with the Imam of our time, every Imam transfers this book to the next Imam. And they have access to knowledge through this book. And this knowledge comes from Jibreel alayhi salam. So the narrations say that one of the reasons why she is referred to as Muhaddatha, that one of the titles of Fatima as Muhaddatha, is because she would receive revelation, this communication rather, from Jibreel alayhi salam. She would be communicating with Jibreel. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam would be the scribe, and he would write down what was being spoken between Fatima and the angel Jibreel. This is really interesting that Amir al-Mu'minin is not the one who is communicating with Jibreel. Amir al-Mu'minin is a scribe, and he's writing down the communications of Fatima. And this knowledge is with the Ahlul Bayt. So this is the third category of the barakah of Fatima. The fourth category is the name Fatima. So it is said that one of the companions of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad,
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj.
He was in the company of the Imam, and he said to the Imam that I have recently had a child, a baby daughter. And Imam says, what did you name her? And he says, I named her Fatima. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, the narration says he repeated 3 times, Fatima, Fatima, Fatima. What a beautiful name you have given to this child. And then Imam Sadiq, he begins to weep. He starts to cry, and he says, La tazliqaha, do not hit her. If you've given her the name of Fatima, don't raise your voice on her. Have this respect for the name of Fatima. It is said on the day of judgment, Yawm al-Qiyamah, there will be a voice that calls out, O Fatima, stand. Asking Fatima to stand up. This narration says that everyone whose name is Fatima, they all stand up. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I meant the Fatima bint Rasul, the daughter of Rasulullah. I'm talking about that Fatima, for her to stand. She stands and she said, Ya Allah, I want all of the Fawatim, all the Fatimas to stand up as well. And I want to intercede on behalf of all of those ladies in the dunya who were named Fatima. Of course, those who were, their activities, their lifestyle was in line with Fatima. But this is the barakah of just the name. The people, the women who are named Fatima, on the day of judgment will have this benefit according to this narration. Another category is the wealth of Fatima. Just to go over this very quickly. The Surah Al-Ata is revealed entirely because of the way that Fatima and the Ahlul Bayt gave away their wealth so easily. When they were fasting all day, then someone would come and knock on the door 3 different nights, and they gave all of it away. And there was so much sincerity in this activity that the surah was revealed in this honor. And there's other categories of the wealth of the Ahlul Bayt that we don't have time to get into this evening. And finally, it is the majalis of Fatima. This is not an exclusive, or rather comprehensive list. This is a list that some of the ulama emphasize. The majalis of Fatima, the gatherings, coming and speaking about Fatima, reciting the musibah of Fatima and weeping for the musibah, There's a book that was published in the past decade by this individual called Idris Maghribi. Idris Maghribi, from his name you can tell Maghrib referring to Morocco. He was a scholar, Sunni scholar from Morocco. He says this is not my words. He says that I was in my car or wherever he was, and I was listening to radio, and I captured a station from Iraq, and I could hear these Shias talking about the khutbah fadakiyya, the talk about fadak that the Shias were bringing up from Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, I listened and I started to cry. And I asked myself, I said, how can you be Muslim and not know about this what happened? How can you be Muslim and not know about fadak? And he said, I was really moved. And I said, how could you know about fadak and not recognize the walayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi afshal as-salatu was-salam?
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj.
This individual, Idris Maghribi, he writes a book. This is available if you want to look it up. It's called Binuri Fatima Ihtadayt. By the light of Fatima, I was guided. This is the story of how he became Shia. It is through Fatima that he was guided to Tashayyu. And he is talking about the impact of the majalis of Fatima sallallahu alayha, reciting the roza of Fatima sallallahu alayha. We see this happening even in Karbala, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam would introduce himself. He would say, I am the son of Fatima. On multiple occasions we see this. We see that Zainab al-Kubra, when she wants to talk to her brother, there's a reason for this. Why on the day of Karbala, on the day of Ashura, are you coming up to Imam Hussein alayhi salam and you're saying, Yabna Fatima, O son of Fatima? So Zainab is launching this tradition of the roza, the zikr masibat of Fatima sallallahu alayhi. Inshallah, if we could have a few moments of zikr masibat and then the likes of the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil.
The narration says that Amir al-Mu'mineen within the house was Asma. Just sometime not too long ago, he was in the same house performing the ghusl for Rasulullah. He was performing the burial rituals for the Prophet of Allah. Now just some months later, Amir al-Mu'mineen is with Asma, and he is back in the same room performing the burial processions, the ghusl and the kafan of Fatima. He would ask Asma, Asma, you pour the water. We'll make the intention for the ghusl. O Asma, Rasulullah left behind a kafan, a shroud for his daughter Fatima. Rasulullah left behind the hanut for Fatima. As they were performing the ghusl, Amir al-Mu'mineen looks to the side and he notices 4 little children watching on. They're shaking, they're crying, they're weeping. Imam Ali looks to them and he begins to weep as well. He says, come my Hassan, come my Hussein, come and bid farewell with your mother. As soon as Amir al-Mu'mineen gave them permission to come forth, they threw themselves onto the body of Fatima. Abu Abdullah began to lament and he called out to his mother, oh my mother, give my salams to Rasulullah. today, now we're realizing not only have we lost Rasulullah, but we've also lost our mother. Amir al-Mu'mineen removed the children from the body of their mother. Amir al-Mu'mineen sat them on his lap and he began to comfort them. He began to stroke their hair. Oh, how we wish that Amir al-Mu'mineen could have been present in the battle of Karbala. On the day of Ashura, we see a similar scene. The daughter of Hussein, she rushes toward the body of her father. She sees the beheaded body of Hussein, and she throws herself onto her father's chest. Oh Ali, only if you were there to remove her and to comfort her. Instead, the enemies of Allah approach this child. They tell her to get up, but she doesn't get up. It says that she was holding on so tightly that these enemies of Allah had to yank her off of the body of her father, Hussein. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون لا يومك يومك يا عباد الله نسألك اللهم ونعوذ باسمك العظيم العظيم بحق فاطمة يا الله 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 اللهم اغفر لوالدينا ولوالدي والدينا وارحم موتانا واغفر ذنوبنا واستر عيوبنا وانصر اخواننا المسلمين واحفظ قائدنا وعجل فرج مولانا صاحب الزمان.
يا حسين
فاعتبروا
اسم تو میبارد از نفس باران، اسم تو میبارد از نفس باران، نور رخت دارد جلوه بی پایان، بر دل خسته میدهد اسمت عزت عشقی مدام، بر روح بلند السلام، بر دل خسته میدهد اسمت عزت عشقی مدام، بر روح بلند السلام. سلام ای گوهر دریای نور، ای آیه زیبای عشق، ریحانه روح خدا. سلام ای دار و ندار علی، ای دود و نبود حسن، ای مادر ارباب ما، ذکر لب نوکرها. سیدتی لبیک یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک، یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک، یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک. مهر تو در دلها آیه توحید است، جلوه‌ای از نورت صورت خورشید است. مهر تو در دلها آیه توحید است، جلوه‌ای از نورت صورت خورشید است. آیه به آیه از دل قرآن داد خدا این پیام، بر روح بلند السلام. آیه به آیه از دل قرآن داد خدا این پیام، بر روح بلند السلام. سلام ای کوثر و توحید و من، ای دست تو یاسین و من، ای روی تو شمس الضحی. سلام ای معنی ام الکتاب، ای مدح تو باج توحید، ای مادر ارباب ما. روی لبم اعطینا سیدتی لبیک یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک، یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک، یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک. نام تو تنها بر زخم دلم مرهم، با تو شود محشر صبح قیامت هم. نام تو تنها بر زخم دلم مرهم، با تو شود محشر صبح قیامت هم. سایه لطفت بر سر دنیا تا به ابد مستدام، بر روح بلند السلام. سایه لطفت بر سر دنیا تا به ابد مستدام، بر روح بلند السلام. سلام ای جان کلام رسول، ای عطر توی عشق، ای رحمت بی انتها. سلام ای سیده اولیا، ای نور دل انبیا، ای مادر ارباب ما، ای خانه بی همتا. سیدتی لبیک یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک، یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک، یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک. سایه لطفت بر سر دنیا مرهم، نام تو تنها بر زخم دلم مرهم، با تو شود محشر صبح قیامت هم. سایه لطفت بر سر دنیا تا به ابد مستدام، بر روح بلند السلام. سایه لطفت بر سر دنیا تا به ابد مستدام، بر روح بلند السلام. سلام ای جان کلام رسول، ای عطر تو بوی عشق، ای رحمت بی انتها. سلام ای سیده اولیا، ای نور دل انبیا، ای مادر ارباب ما، ای حامی بی همتا. سیدتی لبیک یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک، یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک، یا فاطمة الزهراء صلی الله علیک. مظلوم حسین
الزهراء
اسمة الله الكبرى
يا فاطمة الزهراء
يا سيدة النساء
يا فاطمة الزهراء
بنت رسول الله
يا فاطمة الزهراء
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 بر مشتاق من میرسد هر لحظه بوی کربلا بر دلم ترسم بماند آرزوی کربلا تشنه آب فراتم ای اجل مهلت بده تا بگیرم در لبن قبر شهید کربلا حسین جانم
حسین جانم
حسین جانم
حسین جانم
حسین جانم
حسین جانم
ذکر حسین
ذکر الله
حب حسین
حب الله
سلمان من سلامتو
يا أبا عبد الله
سلمان من
سلامتكم يا أبا عبد الله
ذكر حسين
ذكر الله
حب حسين
حب الله
ذكر حسين
ذكر الله
حب حسين
حب الله
سلمان من
سلامتكم يا أبا عبد الله
سلمان من
سلامتكم يا أبا عبد الله
إلهي باب الفاتح
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 إلهي برقية
إلهي بالقيد
إلهي برقية
إلهي بالقيد
إلهي بسكينة
إلهي وسقيناه
إلهي بسكينة
إلهي وسقيناه
يا زينب يا زينب
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 يا زهراء يا زهراء
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 حيدر أمير المؤمنين
حيدر.
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 يا حجة ابن الحسن أجل على ظهوره يا حجة ابن الحسن أجل على ظهوره نگاه سرد مردم بود و آتش صدا بین صدا گم بود و آتش به جای تسلیت با دسته گل به جای تسلیت با دسته گل هجوم قوم هیزم بود و آتش یا زهرا یا زهرا یا زهرا. Let us recite the ziyarat of Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله السلام عليك يا بنت نبي الله السلام عليك يا بنت حبيب الله السلام عليك يا بنت خليل الله السلام عليك يا بنت صفي الله، السلام عليك يا بنت أمين الله، السلام عليك يا بنت خير خلق الله، السلام عليك يا بنت أفضل أنبياء الله ورسله وملائكته، السلام عليك يا بنت خير البرية، السلام عليك يا سيدة النساء العالمين من الأولين والآخرين، السلام عليك يا زوجة ولي الله خير خلق بعد رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أم الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة، السلام عليك أيتها الصديقة الشهيدة، السلام عليك أيتها الرضية المرضية، السلام عليك أيتها الفاضلة الزكية، السلام عليك أيتها الحوراء الإنسية، السلام عليك أيتها التقية النبية، السلام عليك أيتها المحدثة العليمة، السلام عليك أيتها المظلومة المغصوبة، السلام عليك أيتها المستهدة المقهورة، السلام عليك يا فاطمة بنت رسول الله ورحمة الله وبركاته، صلى الله عليك وعلى روحك وبدنك، أشهد أنك مضيت على بينة من ربك، وأن من سرك فقد سر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله، ومن جفاك فقد جفا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله، ومن آذاك فقد آذى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله، ومن وصلك فقد وصل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله، ومن قطعك فقد قطع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله، لأنك بضعة منه وروحه الذي بين جنبيه، أشهد الله ورسله وملائكته أني راض عمن رضيت عنه، ساخط على من سخطت عليه، متبرأ ممن تبرأت منه، موال لمن راديت معاد لمن عاديت، مبغض لمن أبغضت، محب لمن أحببت، وكفى بالله شهيدا وحسيبا وجافيا ومذنبا. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج والعافية والنصر، اللهم اشغل الظالمين بالظالمين، اللهم انصر من نصر الدين، اللهم ارزقنا شهادة في سبيلك. Let's conclude with dua faraj inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله